was a great thought, Satya.
Yep. So now we move on to the next speaker of the evening. Just give me a second here. So Rajat Khatri is a data analytics leader with over 15 years of experience in analytics, business intelligence, and consulting. He has worked in companies like Fractal Analytics, Excelindex, Housing.com, Makan.com, and he currently heads business intelligence for Cactus Communications, Mumbai. Rajat's expertise has been on digital analytics around web and product analytics. He works directly with CXOs and provide investigation into business problems using the right data from multiple sources. Rajat is also a certified happiness coach from University of Wellbeing, California. He coaches students, individuals, and corporates on how to stay happier that are proven by science and research conducted at the leading universities of the world. If life is a story and you aren't happy reading it, look out for his Amazon's best author of the book, 10 Keys to Attain Happiness, a great storytelling book. According to him, storytelling is an art as well as data is a science, but you need to combine both, which creates real impact and easy to understand. Let's hear from him of how to change statistics into stories that drive action. Welcome, Rajat, and over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Satya, for the very warm welcome and for the kind words. It's really an honor to be here on the show among so many people who are more or less like me, who are in corporates, who are learning. And I'm looking forward to really create some value in the next 15-20 minutes that are being allocated to me. Before we start, a very quick question to everyone. Are you from India or are you out of India? And the reason why I'm asking this question is because I have some stories to tell, and I just want to make sure that is it that only the Indians can get associated with it, or is it that even people who are from outside India, they can get connected? Okay, I got a couple of answers. People are from Chennai, India, US, India. Great, awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. UK, Chennai. All right. Thank you so much. Let me now just start sharing my presentation. And I just wanted to make sure that I'm not giving a lot of gyan, but a bit more of a practical knowledge as in how the data is being used in the corporates and how we can derive beautiful stories. So you can see the presentation, right?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to talk about how we can, change a lot of data points into stories and then drive action. So let me start this session by telling you a story, what happened a couple of days back. So I met my friend and my friend was super excited. I said, why are you so happy? He said, you know what? Did you see the India versus England test match? I said, no, I was busy working. What happened? What happened in the test match? And this is what he told me, right? He said, you know what? England scored 391 runs in the first inning while chasing. I said, okay. And then he said, then India was in the third inning, India was 55 for 3. And from there, 175 for 6. And they ended up declaring their innings at 298. I said, okay. And I was just trying to connect the dots when he said, our fast bowler, Mohammad Siraj, he took 4 wickets in both the innings. And then he came to the point. He said, India scored 364 in the first inning when they were asked to bat, and KL Rahul scored a century. And then he said, so finally, in the fourth inning, England were chasing 272 and they were all out for 120. And then he also said that Bumrah and Shami had a tiff with Anderson, and in return, they both added 89 runs for the 8-wicket partnership. And finally, the data point that he told me that Joe Root, the captain of England, he scored 180 not out in the first inning, and which led to a lead of 27 runs. Now, while he gave me these 7 data points, I was like just trying to find it out what is happening, because he was talking about the second inning, he was talking about the third inning, he was talking about multiple wickets taken by the bowlers, he was talking about the centuries being scored, but there was no story as such. And that's when I realized how important it is to tell a particular thing or tell a few data points in a form of a story. What instead he should have done is he should have taken this in this order. You should have started it like this, that, India was asked to bat, they scored 364, there was a century by KR Rahul. In return, Joe Root also scored a century, and they scored, 391 runs. So therefore, there was a lead of 27 runs. Now is when excitement started. India were 55 for 3, then 175 for 6, and they ended up scoring 298. And in the third inning, the most important highlight was Bumrah and Shami had a tiff with Anderson, and in return, they ended up adding 89 runs. Now, when England needed 272 runs in the fourth inning, they were all out for 120 in less than 2 sessions. If you would have told me in this case, you would see the complete summary of the 5 days would have been directly in my mind, right? But it was not his problem. This problem is everywhere. From the last 15 years, I've been working with managers, leaders, directors, CXOs, and I am giving so many data points. In fact, it's not only me, everyone else in the company gives so many data points, and that is what the problem is. Everyone just gives a data point, they never tell a story. I'm just giving you a few examples here. So this is what happened in one of the recent discussions that were happening, where the chief product officer was there, the chief marketing officer was there, the COO was there, I was there as a head of business intelligence, and there was one person. In fact, there were 3 different people who were presenting this data, and this is the data that came to us. One person said, what, sir, what happened last month was the new customer business is down by 10%, and we lost approximately $1 million. Another person said, organic traffic saw a growth rate of 15% year on year, which looks like a very good story to us. One of the data points came was overall business was at par with June 21 numbers. So we were like, okay, it looks like the business is doing fine. Another data point came, existing customers' average order value improved by 5%, but the jobs did decline by 3%. A bit of a calculation that everyone needs to do just to understand what exactly is the impact on the business. The paid traffic was down by 25% as marketing budget declined by 30% in this month. Okay, now that is a good data point. And a new page was introduced into the conversion funnels on the website that led to the drop-offs. Now, this is usually the way a meeting happens at a corporate level. Every person comes up with his own story or with his own findings, and they just bombard the people sitting there with a lot of data points. And just see people like us who have so many other things to take care of. Suddenly they get these 6, 7 data points. What is the inference? What is the inference that you're getting? Is it that the business is up, or is it that the business is down, or is it that it's at par? Are there some direct action items that we need to do? Do we really need to focus a lot on marketing, or was it there some problem with the funnel or how the people were engaging on the website? Nothing is clear here, right? These are just data points, and there's just no story. Had I been there, I would have definitely presented in a different way. I would have said, so let's start from the beginning, right? So overall, our business numbers are at par with June 21 numbers. So that means nothing up, nothing down. But if I come to the next subsets of new versus existing people, that's where the problem rises. The new customer business is down by 10%, and we lost approximately 1 million. Now that is an area to think and wonder what needs to be done, right? And then it should be followed by 2, 3 data points. One is why new customers business was down, because our marketing budget to acquire these people was down by 25%. Now, if we have spent 25% lesser money this month and we are getting 10% lesser revenue, I think it's fine. Now, is there a problem there? You understand? Was it an intentional call to reduce the marketing budget? Was there any other business KPI that has to be impacted because of this? The conversation has to go in that direction. And the second thing that I would have said is also we have introduced a new page on the website. Now, instead of the people who have to move from one page to another to third page and then drop a lead, now they have to go to 4 pages, and that's when they drop a lead. And every additional page means a few people will drop off. And I would have actually done an analysis and said that this new page leads to, say, 10%, 20%, or X% drop in the conversions. So this is how the story has to be formed. The biggest thing that you need to do here is basically, you need to know that there are these 3 steps of a storytelling, right? Which I have seen very few people know that, or maybe they are aware about it, but they never implement it while they present it or present a lot of data to the CXOs. So what are these three things? The first thing is you need to go with the flow. And when I say go with the flow, it's basically you need to have the complete blueprint created in your mind. So you just start at what happened to the overall business. That means overall revenue. Divide this overall revenue into the number of jobs and average order value. And then you say that what happened to the number of jobs? Have they gone up? They have gone down. If they have gone down, then was the marketing impact okay? Are we getting sufficient number of traffic from different data sources, different traffic sources? Or are we spending enough money on the paid campaigns? Or how's the website engagement, conversion rate? Is there any dip there? So that is how you need to create a flow in your mind. And that is exactly how you need to present during the presentations, the monthly presentations or the weekly presentations that you do with the numbers. Number two, this is where you also need to match the numbers. What happens is sometimes, so I'll give you an example. A few days back, we were having this conversation and someone said, the referral traffic is not converting, right? And there was a lot of discussion that happened on the referral traffic, who all are our partners, how much traffic are they bringing in, what is the year-on-year growth rate, what is the month-on-month trends and things like that. So after having a discussion for around 1 or 2 hours, that is when we came to a data point which said that actually the referral traffic is only 5%. So that means even if we put a lot of effort in bringing back the numbers, the maximum that we can get is 5%, right? Now, as a BI head, the call that we need to take is it worth investing time and effort in this referral traffic, which is just 5%? Or should we continue focusing on, say, the paid campaigns or the organic traffic, which accounts for, say, 40-50% of the traffic? Right? So you need to match the numbers and also tell that how big this segment is where we are targeting for the coming days. The third thing that we need to do is go to the next level of 3 whys, right? So when you say that, so I've seen people, they said that, I'm a data analyst. Okay. So what did you analyze? He said that, we analyze that the July numbers are at par with the June numbers. And he's showing one chart. And that chart is actually a trend line, which clearly shows that June numbers are equal to July numbers. Now, this is not an analysis. This is an observation, right? Analysis is why this happened. And that's where he should have come with these kind of observations that, this is at par or this has not grown because the number of jobs are at par. Why the number of jobs are at par? Because the traffic is at par. Why the traffic is at par? Because this month also we spent exactly the same amount of money that we spent last month. And this month also, since we have not made any changes on the website, the conversion rate is still the same. And that is how you answer these 3 whys, right? And similarly, so here the numbers were actually matching. So the story is like this. But if you're talking about why the revenue dropped, and that's when you tell the next 3 level of whys, that is when you understand that, okay, maybe the problem area is my paid campaigns, or the problem area is one of the pages on the website, right? And that's when you all sit together and think how we should address this problem. So this 3 level of whys is very, very interesting and important when you are going to tell a story, especially around the data. I'll just take a minute break. In the meantime, if someone just has any question, he or she may ask.
So I do have a question from Rohit, if I'm right. He asks, how do we decide what is the right data to collect? If it makes sense now, or you could handle it towards the end.
Satya, can you just repeat it? What is the right data?
Yes, Rohit asks, how do we decide what is the right data to collect?
Okay, sure. So I'm sure his question will be answered in the next slide. But in case not, then maybe at the end of the session, I'll answer that. Yeah. So far, you guys with me, finding it interesting? All right, moving ahead. So yes, I'm just trying to give you a framework in which, I've been working, especially in my current organization or in my past organization. And this framework, when it's very clear in my mind, it helps me gather the right kind of questions or the data points. And that's how I present the story. So as I said, The revenue. Revenue is basically a driver of two components. One is the number of jobs and another is an average order value. So if my revenue has increased, let's assume it has increased by 20%, and people want to know what happened this month, that suddenly the revenue has grown 20%. It could be that either my jobs have increased by 20% or my average order value have gone up with a very similar number. Now, if the jobs have gone up, right, it could be because of two things. One, either the traffic on my website, if it's an e-commerce portal, either the traffic on my website has gone up or the conversion rate on my website or the engagement on websites have gone up, right? Now, why would traffic go up? Traffic would go up because of two things. One is either we are spending more money in acquiring these clients, right? Or we have done a lot of work on our SEO, and that's how our SEO ranking has gone up, which leads to more and more traffic to flow in, right? If there are problems with the average order value, what could be the probable reasons? The probable reason could be that competition pricing. Maybe they have been offering some kind of a discounts. And so we had also to introduce a promotion and we have to give some kind of a discounts. Therefore, our average order value has come down. Or we have introduced new products and all these products are comparatively lower price. And now more and more people are buying these low cost products. And therefore, the average order value has gone down. And while I keep track of all these numbers in my brain, I also go by the market, right? Every market, we have 4 or 5 major markets. We go deep into every market, and I try to remember these numbers, or by the products. So we have 3-4 major products and services. So I make sure that this is the biggest product, what is happening with these major numbers, so that it's very easy for me to, one, recollect the story. And whenever I am bumping into the CPO or the CMO or the CBO, at least I need not tell him that, you know what, let me go back to my laptop and see the numbers. These numbers are right there in my head. And this story is very clear in my brain. And then we can discuss about what are the next steps there. Moving ahead, I just wanted to talk about a very small case study, and I think you will really find it very, very interesting. So a few years back, I was basically working for one of the real estate portals. And what we saw was, the question that came to me was, you know what, our organic conversion rate is dropping, right? Before that, the CTO had already had a numerous number of meetings with the SEO person, and they've already seen a lot of data points, but they couldn't figure out what is the story behind it. So when they gave me this business problem, I said, okay, fine, you just give me say 3 or 4 days and let me do my study. And I went to that SEO person. I asked him, what is it that you have already computed? And this is exactly what happened. He was looking at 4 or 5 different data points, which were not connecting. And from that, no story was coming. Therefore, he was unable to answer this question. So then I started my analysis. And while looking at the numbers from all the angles, by device, by product, by the channel, which is mainly organic and even organic, different sources that we had, we realized that there was no story coming up, right? There was few things were up, few things were down. So that means nothing concrete there, right? So that's when we started looking into the web trends data, which actually tracks what is the keyword that people enter on Google, and that's when they land on your website, right? So while checking those trends, there was a very interesting story that came up. And if I really want to share the story. So we were tracking a data of almost 1 year, right? And we saw 1 year earlier, what was happening is people were mainly searching for, say, localities, right? Or an area. And they were writing, for example, they would write house on rent in Bandra, Mumbai, right? Or they would write house on rent in Sona Road, Gurgaon, right? Or they would write buy properties in SV Road, Mumbai, something like this. And what will happen is, because of that, our organic page will come up on the top and we'll talk about only the Bandra or the Sona Road properties. And then he would come over on our website and he would look around a few things and drop a lead. But over the time, with the NLP coming up in Google, right, where people were now writing bigger and bigger phrases, and in fact, they were writing exactly what they want. People started writing phrases. They were searching in phrases. They were writing 2 BHK in rent on Sona Road under 25,000, right? 1 BHK in Bandra under 40,000, something like this. Now, when you're writing 1 BHK in Bandra and you see a Bandra page, you will open up that page. You will suddenly see a 4 BHK for 80,000, a 3 BHK for 60,000. You will see a few properties and you will find, no, this is not what is matching my requirement. You will just close that window. You will bounce off. right? And this is exactly what the story was happening. The people were changing the behavior. They were now becoming more open with Google, and they were just telling very clearly what exactly do they need. And that is what they were searching. And now what happened is, this was a story that was presented. We did a benchmarking that people who were just searching for localities, what happened to their conversion rate? Their conversion rate was more or less in trend. But people who started searching in phrases, what happened to their conversion rate? Their conversion rate was actually going down, and their contribution was increasing, and their bounce rate was increasing. So that's when we realized that this is the problem. So we sat and we created so many taxonomy pages. We created particular pages of, say, Bandra 1 BHKs, Bandra 2 BHKs, Bandra 3 BHKs, and that way we started indexing it into the Google. And over the months, we start more and more traffic coming for exactly that filtered pages. And that's how the conversion started coming up. I hope you found this case study useful. And in case you're facing a similar challenge, maybe a similar reason for that. Very quickly, I just want to, so this is my last slide, just to make you feel happy. I just have 4 pieces of advice for you. So the number one is, stories not always start from the beginning, right? So as I said, that once we were talking about organic traffic, so it doesn't matter if I say that you know what is happening at the overall business level. We know organic is one of the biggest traffic source, say 40% traffic coming there. So that is from where my story should begin. And I should talk about, you know, organic, it's 40% of our traffic. The overall trends are 10% year-on-year growth, month-on-month growth, and then the story should start from there. You need not start from the beginning. Stories need to have a connection. And when I say connection, I mean that the same flow that I showed in the previous slide, where you say that, okay, now in organic, this is how the traffic, the revenue is increasing. And now this revenue is basically because of 2 things. One is your jobs, another is average order value. And from there, that sub-story should come up and the connection should be built. The third thing is, the stories don't always work. In the previous presentation also, she was saying that, you know, there's something called the elevator speech. So you are actually with the CEO, I'm sorry, in a lift, and he asked what's happening with the business. You need not start that, you know what, overall business went down by 10% because that X, Y, Z. You just need to say that one line, what you think he is keen to listen to. And the last and not least, stories depend upon the business priority and the time to share, right? When I say business priority, as I said, the referral traffic, that is not a priority. Let's not create a huge story around that. Let's tell it very quickly. Yes, referral traffic, it's 5% of traffic. And this is what is happening, right? And in case the time to share is very less, you just have 5 minutes to present, you need to be right to the point. In the end, I would just like to tell a very small incident or a joke. You know, once a teacher, she asked her students, so students, you all are ready, you have a test tomorrow. And your test will be on the Indian mythology, Ramayan, right? So you are all ready. So one of the naughty kids like me, he asked that, ma'am, how long answer should I be giving to the questions? So ma'am said something very interesting. She said, see, it all depends on the number of marks. So let's assume the question is, who killed Ravana? And it's for just 1 mark. You just need to write Rama killed Ravana. If it's for 5 marks, you just need to write that, you know, while Rama was exiled, Ravana took away Sita. So Rama created his own army along with Hanuman and everyone else. They went to Lanka and they fought a war, and Rama killed Ravana. And if it's for 100 marks, that's when you need to start with, once upon a time in Ayodhya, there was a king Dashrath, and the story should begin. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to me very, very patiently. I hope I was able to add some value and give you some fruitful tips. Happy to hear the questions that you have.
Sure. So Rajat, in the interest of time again, I think it was a great ending as well as a start. We didn't know when it started, but at the time it was ending, we got so many of the moral of the stories that it doesn't need to begin, but needs to have a connection and don't always work. It depends on business priority and time. So right. That's a great way to kind of, you know, end this. And I have a few questions. In the interest of time, I'll pick up 1 or 2. Sure. Vijay asks, We have heard 5 whys for root cause analysis, but why you stop at 3?
Right. Vijay, you are very right. There have to be actually 5 whys, but I tell you, most of the businesses struggle to get even 2 whys. So even if you come up with 3 whys, I'm telling you, you are at least getting the passing marks, which will create a very good impression. Yes, if you can go deep down and you have the access to the right data from the multiple sources, please go ahead and don't stop at even 5. Go beyond, go till the root cause of that problem and come out with a solution.
Okay, so there was one other question. I'm not sure if you want to reiterate. How do we decide what is the right data to collect?
Right. So Rohit, thanks for this question. And this is one of the biggest problems that everyone is facing. That's why I said in one of the slides that okay, let me just go to that slide. It said that match the numbers, right? Now, when you have your MIS, which is actually being presented on a weekly or a monthly basis, try to start from there, pick up a data point, and then see how the numbers or how the subset is. So for example, in my case, when we talk about organic traffic, people actually come up with different numbers, right? Because everyone has a different definition. Someone just sees only the mobile traffic, another one sees every kind of traffic, the third person sees only the main website and not the content website. So everyone comes with different numbers. So the way we always do is we say that overall and I'm giving you very dummy numbers here, overall we have 5 million organic traffic. Out of these 5 million, 2 million actually come to the content pages. So, but because of this business problem, let's just remove that. So for the rest, 3 million, and that's how the story begins. So you need to collect the right data, and you need to make sure that it's the right data or very, very closer to the right data when you do some analysis. What is right data? I think right data is any number which is like 90 to 95% range of the exact number that you have already presented to your senior management in different meetings.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Rajat. And I think we are at the top of the hour. So I would conclude 7 is a magic number because that's what average human could comprehend. But if you ask them to talk about the story of Titanic, they can explain for 2 hours. So that makes all the difference. And thanks for reiterating how numbers and stories gel together with the business priority and the time. Thanks. As a mark of appreciation from Institute of Product Leadership, this is a token of appreciation. If you scan the code, you will be taken to the Hall of Fame. And thanks again for all the valuable insight and experience sharing.
Thank you so much, Satya, for giving this opportunity. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, Rajat.